can you remember any things about the semi-set that were unusual? The props that you worked with at the time, doing funny things or anything like that,
well,
or some on-location things.
I knew nothing about the computer at the time. I was a music major.
Right? But that's okay. But you played it so well.
It was acting. I'm very computer literate now because I have to, and it sure helps with all my writing projects. But I would get to the set sometimes, all my lines learned, and I would get all new pages.
Every morning.
And what would happen a lot of times, I think, is that the writers would write things with a certain gadget, and they would have all these names for the gadgets that were really invented words. They were made up gooky words,
We remember.
and I would know them very well. I do my homework. And then I would get all new pages because whatever was written, like the production designer guy or whoever is supposed to make that gadget and come to life and do what it was, didn't exactly work, so they went another direction. So then I would get all new pages with a different gadget and new made-up words. So I was a pretty fast study, though. But those were challenges sometimes.
Yeah. You did very well.
Because a lot of times we would, because the way it is on a show, you film all the scene. You don't film anything in sequence.
Right.
You film all the scenes that take place at that location on the same day. So you would have so they would all be crammed together. So you had to know all of your lines for that.
Excellent. No, thank you for sharing.
Part of the job.
But see, those things are really cool to know. Those things are very cool to know.
But they were fun things to look at. I always look forward because you would read the script and you would hear about this gadget or this device, but you didn't know what it looked like.
Right.
So I was always eager to get to the set and say, "Where is the gobbledygook thing?"
And did they show you? It's like, well, it's this button that isn't here.
Yeah.
Be on.
And then you just wave this wand around and pretending you're doing
It's like the high traction drop downs that we just installed. Because you installed those, don't you remember?
Yeah. So it was fun.
Thank you.
Let me see if I can get this.
I know you're not.
I'll do it again. What you probably don't realize how the inside of the trailer came to be. But early on, we had $1 million in each episode, and Lou says, "You're going to do each one for $1 million,
Yeah.
and no matter what, or you don't do it."
Yeah.
So, because don't forget the residual market was way down. The rerun market was way down. It was hard to market a whole series.
Yes.
And you had to do it for the price.
Yes.
In other words, the money that NBC gave us to do the show.
Yes.
We never had a full day's work on the stage. We were always out, and every day out is a lot more money.
Yep.
Teamsters, trucks, food, all of those costs. So every day outside was a killer.
Yeah.
And we tried to prepare him to sound. First thing, I go to Bob, who I just love and adore. The sweetest, nicest man. I filled in on some of the Jack Webb shows with Bob Senator. He was always just a true gentleman, a brilliant guy, and a big sweetheart. I can't say enough nice things about Bob Senator. Truly mean that. And so I go to Bob, and he would always make it work for whatever you got. Because he and I would sit alone and go over the script. When I first got it, I said, Bob, we're going to have trouble doing this one. Can we change it to this? Why? Well, because, and I have to come up with some real good answers, or I didn't. And then he just look at you, look at me, and he just sort of smile, a little smirk. And he said, "Oh, all right, kid." So I was actually younger then. I could be called kid. I'm not kidding you. But so I go there and say, it's costing us a full day to have even a partial day on stage or off stage. It's the same. We're not saving it. We really need to put more work on the stage.
Yeah.
So what we need to do, nobody needs to say, "Well, what do you think? What should we do?" Always put it back to make me think. And I had already thought.
Yeah.
So, he wasn't going to catch me. Right? He'd always get that little smirk on his face when he'd give in to you. I just loved it. And so he said, "What should we do?" I said, "Well, you know what? I was thinking," I said, "why don't we build the inside of the truck, the trailer. We can drive kit. We have room on stage 1, I think it was. We can play scenes in there, and we can work to get a day's work in there, and we'll save, $30,000, $40,000.
Yeah.
If we do it, well, we argued back and forth and said, all right, kid. And that's how we got to. And then we had it on the stage, and we still never had a full day's work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I'd have to try to find something on the lot to shoot
Yeah.
to fill up the day, and not always successfully. But it was a struggle. All there was Bob Senator and Joel Robeson were the only producers, and then I answered to them, and then later I was one. And that's how we got the inside of the semi with all the stuff, because you really couldn't get a car on the inside of a real semi trailer.
Right.
So of course we widened it. We added all this junk we got from Modern Props, and I think they still have it, right?
Well, yes, Nick.
We will have the Midnight Rider reunion, actually.
They've copied it too in the UK.
Playing the evil version.
Well, David's such a sweetheart that it's hard to imagine him as this evil character. So you really had to suspend reality there. And then, of course, he shoved me up against the wall, and I had to tell him, don't, be gentle, let's make it real. Yeah, so it was fun. And I loved, I just saw her a few months ago, Barbara Rush,
Right.
who played David's, Garth's
Mother.
mother. And she's still as beautiful as ever. I think she's in her 80s and she's gorgeous.
Wow.
And she's just the sweetest thing.
I actually read somewhere that David's father said that's the best acting he'd ever done.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. Well, the Hoff is as the Hoff as ever. Yeah, we just saw it. Michael and I both were at his birthday party a few days ago. So, yeah, he's doing great.
I can't believe you guys. This is your chance.
Have you performed with them? If not, have
That's
you
the
wanted
question.
to sing?
We'll stop it.
No, I think his keyboard player is a very good friend of mine and a very good friend of Joel Diamonds, the producer. And he even had said, y'all ought to sing together.
Yeah,
something.
it seems like it just
so,
seems like it'd kind of be a natural thing since you both sing.
So who knows what might be in the cards? I know they talked to me in the UK about doing some shows over there. So, and I know David's still working in the UK some, doing shows over there. So one never knows.
Yes.
As a little girl, I said I was going to be a piano teacher. You never know.
Hey, but you're still doing something with music, and that's what's important.
Yes, yes.